everyone. Welcome back to Business English Desk. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jamie. And okay, today's topic, this one is going to save you from so much confusion.
Every week, Jamie.
Every week, I mean it. But seriously, before we dive in, listen to this.
Go ahead.
Can you borrow me $5?
Ooh.
I need to loan your charger for a second.
Ooh.
She owes me a lend of her car.
Okay, every single one of those had a mistake in it. And if you caught them, amazing. And if you didn't, that's exactly why we're doing this episode.
Because borrow, lend, loan, and owe are four of the most commonly confused words in everyday English, and mixing them up is one of the fastest ways to sound unnatural, even if your English is otherwise very good.
So today we're fixing that permanently. Let's get into it. So let's start with the most important thing about this word right from the beginning, because once you understand the direction of borrow, everything else clicks into place.
So borrow means to take something from someone else temporarily with the intention of giving it back. Like the movement goes toward you. You are the one receiving, taking, using something that belongs to someone else. Can I borrow your pen? Meaning I want to take your pen, use it briefly, and return it to you.
And that direction is everything. Like when you borrow, you are on the receiving end. The thing is coming toward you. You borrow something from someone. Never to, always from.
And this is where so many people make the classic mistake, like saying, "Can you borrow me your umbrella?" That sounds so natural when you're thinking in another language, but in English it doesn't work. Because you can't borrow something to someone, you can only borrow something from someone.
Right. If you want someone to give you something temporarily, you say, "Can I borrow your umbrella?" You are the borrower. The umbrella is coming to you.
And borrow is used constantly in everyday life, like, I need to borrow a cup of sugar. Can I borrow your phone charger? She borrowed my favorite jacket and never returned it.
That last one is such a universal experience. Like, we have all lent something that never came back.
Every single person has that one thing they lent to someone and never saw again. A book, a jacket, a DVD, back when DVDs were a thing.
RIP DVD collection. And borrow also works in a figurative sense. Like, she borrowed the concept from an older theory, meaning she took the idea and used it as her own starting point.
Or English borrows so many words from other languages. Like borrowed words is actually a linguistic term for words that came into a language from somewhere else. And it makes perfect sense because the language took those words from somewhere else.
That's such a cool and real example, like cafe, borrowed from French, kindergarten, borrowed from German, karaoke, borrowed from Japanese. English borrows constantly from everywhere.
And there's a phrase, borrowing time, or living on borrowed time. Like, the old car is living on borrowed time, meaning it's still functioning, but it won't last much longer. It's using up time that doesn't really belong to it.
And borrow always comes with an implied promise. Like when you borrow something, there's an unspoken agreement that you'll return it in the same condition you received it. That promise is built into the word.
And when someone doesn't honor that promise, when they borrow something and don't return it, that's where things get complicated. In friendships, in families, in workplaces.
Borrowing and not returning is basically one of the oldest sources of conflict between human beings.
Since the beginning of time, someone borrowed something and didn't give it back. And here we are.
And one more thing worth mentioning. Can I borrow you for a second? This is an informal but really common phrase, meaning, can I have a moment of your time? Can I take you away from what you're doing briefly for something?
And that's such a gentle, considerate way to ask for someone's attention, like you're framing their time as something valuable that you're just borrowing, not stealing.
So, borrow means to receive something temporarily from someone with the intention of returning it. Direction is always toward the borrower. Works literally for objects, figuratively for ideas and words, and always carries an implied promise to return. Okay, expression 2, lend. Now, if borrow is the receiving direction, lend is the giving direction. And understanding that they're opposites on the same transaction is the key to never mixing them up again.
So lend means to give something temporarily to someone with the expectation that they'll return it. Like, can you lend me your umbrella? Meaning, can you give me your umbrella temporarily? I'll return it.
And that phrase, can you lend me, is one of the most natural and most common ways to ask for something temporarily in English. Like, can you lend me $20 until Friday? Or would you lend me your car for the weekend?
And that's where the comparison with borrow becomes so clear. Like, can I borrow your umbrella? And can you lend me your umbrella mean the exact same thing. The situation is identical, but the perspective is different. In the first one, you're speaking as the receiver. In the second one, you're asking the giver to perform the action.
That's such a clean and useful way to understand the difference. Like, same situation, two different perspectives, two different words depending on whose role you're describing.
And lend works in figurative ways too, like lend me your ears. That's a famous Shakespearean phrase, meaning give me your attention, listen to me. And it's still used today in speeches, in presentations, whenever someone wants to ask for your full attention.
And lend itself to is a really beautiful and really useful phrase. Like, this story really lends itself to a movie adaptation, meaning this story naturally suits a movie adaptation. It gives itself to that format. It lends itself.
And you'll hear lend itself to in reviews, in academic writing, in professional conversations. Like the data doesn't really lend itself to a simple conclusion, meaning the data doesn't naturally support a simple conclusion.
And lend a hand is such a classic phrase, like, can you lend a hand with these boxes? Meaning, can you help? Can you assist? Give me a hand. It's such a natural, friendly way to ask for help.
And lend support. Lend credibility, lend weight are all really professional and really common phrases. Like, her endorsement really lent credibility to the project, meaning her support gave the project more believability, more legitimacy.
And lend your voice is another beautiful one. Like, she lent her voice to the campaign, meaning she used her platform, her influence, her literal voice to support something.
And one important thing about lend is that it always implies the thing is coming back. Just like borrow, there's that implied expectation of return. If you give something with no expectation of getting it back, that's a gift, not a loan.
Right, and that distinction is actually really important in relationships. Like, when you give money to a friend, are you lending it, expecting it back, or are you gifting it with no expectation? Because that difference can either save or destroy a friendship.
That's so true. Like, so many friendships have been complicated by someone thinking they were being given something when the other person thought they were just lending it.
And being clear about which one it is one of the most important and most practical things you can do when money changes hands between friends.
So lend means to give something temporarily to someone with the expectation of return. Direction is always away from the lender. Works literally for objects and money, figuratively for attention, support, credibility, and voice.
Okay, expression 3, loan. Now this one is where things get a little more nuanced, because loan and lend are very similar, but they're not exactly the same.
So loan as a noun means something given temporarily with the expectation of return. Like I took out a loan from the bank, meaning I borrowed money from the bank with a formal agreement to repay it. That's a noun, and in this sense, it's very common and very clear.
And loan as a noun works for big, formal, official transactions, like a student loan, a car loan, a business loan, a mortgage loan. These are all formal financial arrangements with contracts, with interest rates, with repayment schedules.
And this is where loan differs from borrow and lend. Like borrow and lend work for everything from a pen to a car to $50. But loan, especially as a noun, tends to be used for bigger, more formal, more official transactions.
And loan as a verb is where it gets really interesting. Like in American English, loan is used as a verb quite commonly. Like, can you loan me $20? And many Americans would say that completely naturally.
But in British English, using loan as a verb is much less common, and many British speakers would say, "Can you lend me $20 instead?" So there's actually a difference between American and British usage here.
And that's such an important thing to know. Like, if you're learning American English, loan as a verb is totally acceptable. Can you loan me your car is something you'd hear all the time.
But if you're in a British English context, you'd more naturally say, "Can you lend me your car?" And loan would be reserved more for the noun.
And on loan as a phrase is really useful. Like, that painting is on loan from the National Museum, meaning it's here temporarily. It was lent by the museum for a period of time and will be returned. It's on loan.
And you hear this in art galleries, in exhibitions, in sports too. Like the player is on loan from his parent club, meaning he's playing for this team temporarily, but he belongs to another team. He's on loan.
And loan shark is a really important informal term worth knowing. Like, I'm not going to a loan shark, meaning an illegal or predatory lender who charges extremely high interest and uses threatening tactics to collect repayment.
And knowing that term helps you understand so many conversations, movies, news stories about people in difficult financial situations.
And bridging loan, or bridge loan, is a term you'll hear in property and finance. Like, we took out a bridging loan to cover the gap between buying the new house and selling the old one, meaning a short-term loan that covers a gap between two financial events.
So loan as a noun is something given temporarily, especially in formal financial contexts. As a verb, it's common in American English, less so in British. On loan means temporarily placed somewhere, and it's most at home in official, institutional financial contexts.
Okay, last expression. Oh. Now, this one is a little different from the other three, because owe is about what happens after the borrowing and lending. It's about the obligation, the debt, the responsibility to pay back or give back what you received.
So owe means to be obligated to give something back or to pay something to someone. Like, I owe you $10, meaning I have a debt to you. You gave me $10 and I am obligated to return it. I owe you.
And this is such a fundamental word in everyday English. Like, it comes up constantly in conversations about money, about favors, about gratitude, about responsibility.
And owe also works for favors. Like, you saved me from that situation. I owe you one. Meaning, I'm in your debt, not financially, but socially. I owe you a favor. I'll repay you when the time comes.
And I owe you one is such a warm and common phrase in friendships. Like, it acknowledges that someone helped you and you'll be there for them when they need it. I owe you one.
And I owe you, which stands for I owe you, is the informal written note someone leaves when they take money and can't pay back immediately. Like scribbling, I owe you $10, signed Jamie, on a piece of paper.
The most informal financial document in the world.
But people really use it. Like, it's surprisingly common between family members, close friends, informal situations.
And owe also works for explanations. Like, you owe me an explanation, meaning you have a responsibility to explain yourself to me. You owe me that.
And that version carries real emotional weight. Like, it's often said in moments of hurt or betrayal. "You owe me an explanation" is such a serious and vulnerable thing to say to someone.
And owe it to yourself is such a beautiful and empowering phrase. Like, you owe it to yourself to try. Meaning you have a responsibility to your own potential, your own happiness, your own growth. You owe it to yourself.
And that phrase is used so often in motivational contexts, like encouraging someone to take a risk, to pursue a dream, to make it change. You owe it to yourself to at least try, like your future self deserves that effort from your present self.
That's honestly one of the most empowering uses of this word, like reframing obligation as something you owe to yourself changes everything about how it feels.
And owe it to someone works similarly, like she felt like she owed it to her family to succeed, meaning she felt a responsibility towards them, a debt of gratitude for everything they'd done that she wanted to honor.
And owe in that sense is almost like public gratitude, like acknowledging a debt of influence, a debt of inspiration. I owe my love of music to my father, like everything he gave me lives in me. I owe it to him.
So owe describes the obligation that follows borrowing or receiving, works for money, favors, explanations, and gratitude, and carries this really human sense of debt, responsibility, and acknowledgement.
Okay, role play time.
Yes, so the scenario is two roommates, Alex and Jordan, having a totally normal but really revealing conversation about money, favors, and stuff they've borrowed from each other.
Perfect. I love this scenario because this is exactly where all four words come up naturally. Ready?
Ready.
Hey, can I borrow $20? I'll pay you back by Friday.
Again, Alex? You still owe me $15 from last month.
I know, I'm sorry. I'll pay back everything I owe you on Friday, I promise.
Okay, but I'm keeping track. So that's $35 total you'll owe me by the end of the week.
35, yes, I know. Thank you. Oh, and can I also borrow your charger? Mine broke.
You borrowed my charger 3 days ago and you still have it.
That's yours? I thought that was mine.
Alex, I lent you my charger on Tuesday. You said, "Can I just borrow it for an hour?"
I'm so sorry. I genuinely forgot. Here, taking it back to you now.
Thank you. Okay, so where are we on the rest of it? Did you put in for the electricity bill?
I did. I paid my half. But I think we need to talk about the internet because I borrowed some of your data last month when the Wi-Fi was down.
How much?
Like 4 gigabytes.
4 gigabytes? You borrowed 4 gigabytes of my data?
I know. I owe you for that too.
Okay, look, I'm not keeping track of data. That's too much. But the money I am keeping track of.
That's fair. And honestly, I owe you way more than money. You lent me your notes before the exam last semester, and I genuinely would not have passed without them.
That's what roommates are for. But speaking of loans, I got a letter from the student loan office today, and I need to talk to someone about it.
Oh no, is everything okay? It's fine. It's just confusing. Like, they're saying I owe more than I thought because of interest.
Student loans are the worst. Like, you borrow money for your education, and then you owe so much more by the time you have to pay it back.
Exactly. And then, on top of the loan, my parents lent me money for the deposit on this apartment, so I owe them too.
Okay, but your parents gave you that money out of love. That's not the same as owing the bank.
I know, but I still feel like I owe it to them to pay it back when I can.
Of course, and you will. But right now, you're doing everything right, and you owe it to yourself to not stress about all of it at once.
Thank you. Okay, philosophy aside, can I borrow your laptop? Mine is being slow.
Only if you promise to actually return it this time, unlike a certain charger.
Fair, very fair.
I'm lending it to you for tonight only. Tomorrow morning, it comes back to me.
Deal. And seriously, I owe you one.
You owe me $35 and a charger returned on time.
Fair, very fair. And there it is, all 4 words used naturally multiple times each in one incredibly relatable roommate conversation.
Did you catch them all?
Can I borrow $20? Receiving temporarily. Direction toward the borrower.
You still owe me $15. Obligation to repay a remaining debt.
Everything you owe me. Total obligation. You borrowed my charger. You received it temporarily.
I lent you my charger. I gave it to you temporarily, direction away from the lender.
Can I just borrow it? Received temporarily. I borrowed some of your data. Received temporarily.
I owe you for that too. Additional obligation.
You lent me your notes. You gave them to me temporarily. Student loan. Formal financial borrowing. You borrow money for education. Receive formally. You owe so much more. The obligation to repay with interest.
My parents lent me money. They gave me money temporarily. I owe them. I have an obligation to repay. I owe it to them to pay back. I have a responsibility. I owe it to yourself. Obligation to your own well-being. Can I borrow your laptop? Receive temporarily. I'm lending it to you. Giving it temporarily. I owe you one. I have a social debt to you.
You owe me $35. You have a financial obligation. All 4 words used naturally multiple times each in one completely real, everyday conversation.
And notice how clearly different each word is when you hear them all in context like this. That's the fastest way to really understand them.
Okay, quiz time.
Let's go.
Listeners, fill in the blank with the right word. Ready?
Sentence 1. Can I blank your dictionary for the exam? I left mine at home.
Borrow. Can I borrow your dictionary? You're on the receiving end. You want to take it temporarily.
Exactly. Sentence 2. She blanked me her car for the weekend, and I returned it with a full tank.
Lent. She lent me her car. She gave it temporarily. The direction was away from her toward me.
Perfect. Sentence 3. After university, she had $70,000 of student blank to repay.
Loan. Student loan. Formal, financial, institutional.
Good. Sentence 4. I still blank you for covering my dinner last Tuesday.
Oh, I still owe you for covering my dinner. There's an obligation, a remaining debt.
Sentence 5. The museum piece is blank blank from the Louvre until January.
On loan. It's on loan from the Louvre, temporarily placed officially, and will be returned.
Sentence 6. Would you be willing to blank me your notes from last week's lecture?
Lend. Would you lend me your notes? You're asking the other person to perform the giving action.
Sentence 7. You owe it to yourself to at least try for that promotion.
Oh, you owe it to yourself to at least try for that promotion. Obligation to your own potential and future.
My neighbor blanked my ladder and returned it the same afternoon.
Borrowed. My neighbor borrowed my ladder. He was the receiver. Direction was toward him.
The bank approved a small blank for the new cafe.
Loan. A small business loan. Formal, financial arrangement, institutional.
And last one, sentence 10. I'm sorry, I know I blank you an explanation for what happened.
Oh, I owe you an explanation for what happened. There's an obligation to explain, to give something beyond money.
Listeners, how did you do? Drop your answers in the comments. We read every single one.
And honestly, if you got all 10, you've genuinely fixed one of the most common confusion points in everyday English. That's worth celebrating.
Okay, let's bring it all home. Today's 4, borrow. To receive something temporarily from someone with the intention to return it. Direction is always toward the borrower.
Works for objects, money, ideas, and even time and attention. Always paired with from, never to.
To lend something temporarily to someone with the expectation of getting it back, direction is always away from the lender. Works for objects, money, support, credibility, attention, and voice. Always paired with to or with the person directly.
As a noun, something given temporarily, especially in formal financial contexts. As a verb, more common in American English. Works for student loans, business loans, car loans, and on loan for temporary placements.
To owe something to give it back or to repay. Works for money, favors, explanations, and gratitude. And beautifully, for what you owe to yourself.
4 words, 1 area of confusion, permanently fixed.
And honestly, once you understand the direction, borrow comes toward you, lend goes away from you, loan is the formal version, and owe is the obligation after. It all just clicks.
Every week we say things click.
Because they do.
They really do.
Okay, before we go, your challenge this week.
Pick 2 of today's 4 words.
Just 2.
And use them correctly in a real conversation today.
Notice if you hear someone say, borrow me that, and know that the correct version is actually lend that to me, or can I borrow that?
Or the next time you ask for something temporarily, make sure you say, can I borrow, not can you borrow me?
Or tell someone, I owe you one, as a genuine, heartfelt acknowledgement of something they did for you.
Drop it in the comments. We love reading them, every single one.
If today helped you, hit that like button.
And subscribe if you haven't already.
New episodes every week. Real English, real conversations.
Share this with someone who always says, borrow me that.
They need this episode. They really do.
We're doing them a favor.
And they owe us one.
They really do.
All right, everyone. This has been Business English Desk. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jamie, and we'll see you in the next one.
Don't borrow trouble.
Lend your energy to things that matter.
Loan yourself a little grace today.
And remember, you owe it to yourself to keep learning.
Bye.
Bye!